Hi again. So I've named this flow a flow, reasoning whether you come to class with me in the studio as normal or whether you do Vinyasa somewhere else just on YouTube or wherever you practice, you'll know these sequences and how they link together. And it's just a flow for everybody. So enjoy the class, and we're going to start in child's pose. So nice and long and stretched out in child's pose. And child's pose gives you a really nice way to begin your practice. It creates lightness in your back, it creates space in your back. You can open your shoulders, you can take movement there if you want to. And for myself, I can sort of clear my mind from the day, whether it's the beginning or the end of the day, whether that day is ahead of me or behind me. And just for the first time, really focus on the breath, linking the breath to the movement, and just allowing the two of them to work together like a team. And then from your child's pose, coming up onto your knees and hands into your cat spine, and we just flow through our cat-cow. And you take this cat-cow whatever speed works for you, and just use it as a way just to create Vinyasa for the first time. One movement synchronized with one breath. Just letting your body sort of just tag along with that breath. Yoga is breath-led, so to me your physical movement maybe is just slightly led by your breath. And then as you find the top of that cat spine, let's find our down facing dog. I'm just going to pedal out the down dog. Again, be creative, make it personal to how you feel today. If your hamstrings are tight, then you just march out those legs. If your hips are a little tight, then just maybe add a little figure eight to the sway of your hips. A little sway, a little swagger. Maybe if your wrists are telling you that for the first time you've got the weight bear there, just sort of pad out the hands a little bit and just introduce the weight to the wrists and hands just a little bit more slowly. We take plank pose for the first time also, so high plank and high in your upper back and shoulders, strong in your legs, connected with your core. And if this is tough for you, early class, you just put your knees down, and you can put your knees down every single time in plank if that suits you better. Lower your knees, sit back to child's pose, and in a way we have our first Vinyasa from that. So we come over the top of our cat spine. Inhale, tuck your toes under and come into downward facing dog on your toes. Exhale, press down through your heels to down facing dog. Good morning to your hamstrings. Coming forward to your high plank. Lower your knees and sit back to your child's pose. Again, exhale. So we're coming over the top of our cat. Toes tucking under, high on our toes into down facing dog. And down into our heels as we stretch out the backs of the legs. Coming forward to our plank. Lower your knees, sit back to your child's. Let's add a move. Gazes forward at the top of your mat. Sliding forward onto your belly, and as you come onto your belly, just shift your arms forward a little bit and just take a low cobra, or more of just a sphinx pose, and let's just take a little hold there. So shoulders are down your back, chest is lifted, but your back bend feels long and reasonable. It doesn't feel high and unreasonable and pinched. And as you lower back down through chest, chin, nose and forehead, let's find our child's pose again. Let's add that cobra to our sequence, and that will bring us up to our feet. So coming over the top of our cat. Toes are tucking under into downward facing dog on our toes, and then down through your heels, exhale. Forward to your high plank. Lower your knees, sit back to your child's. Exhale, gazes forward to the top of your mat. Slide forward onto your belly, moving your hands if you need to, and just keeping that low back bend in that cobra nice and light. And then tuck the toes under and come back to your down facing dog. And whether you want to hold this down facing dog in stillness, or whether you still want to sort of continue to flow through it, it's your pose, it's your practice. So whatever feels good. Yoga is to me about feeling good. Don't have to look perfect in those standing poses. They need to feel good. Let's walk our feet to the top of the mat. Hands come into your shin bones so you're midway with your spine. And then as you fold over your legs, bend your knees as much as you need to and just sort of be there like a raggy doll. And then you can roll the shoulders out, you can hold the elbows if you want to, and you can just sort of just have a little move around like you did in your down facing dog. So we're going to lightly place the fingertips on the mat, come to our flat back spine and cross your left leg behind your right. Walk your hands around to where your left foot was and just find this really cute little stretch running all the way up the right side of your hip leg. Maybe your glute muscle, most likely your hip and hamstring. And then walk the hands back, uncross that leg and then cross the right leg behind the left. And do the same this side, and you can sort of compare as well how one side feels. You might need to bend your knees loads, you might only be on your fingertips, you might be on the flats of your hands. You might be thinking, oh my word, this is tight. Or you might be thinking the opposite. Coming back, uncross your legs. Let your hands find your shin bones again, midway spine, and then as you breathe in, reach the arms high. Finding Tadasana for the first time. In the first part of our class, we don't really move off the spot. So we take a breath in and circle the arms up. Catch hold of your right wrist and take a nice side stretch over towards the left side, stretching out the right side of your body. And then lift in center, catching hold of the left wrist as you reach over to your right side. As you come back to center, let's take a chair pose, not too low, just to sort of explore chair for the first time. And then forward fold, Uttanasana. Lift the chest to gaze, let the hands rest on the shin bones. And then fold back to the legs, exhale. Take a breath in, and as you reach the arms high, we're going to take the hands behind our back. Open the chest as you think heart to sky. And then exhale, fold forwards into your Uttanasana with those shoulders and arms really waking up here and just letting your neck relax. And if you need to bend your knees, this will really tell your hamstrings that they're about to do some work, I think. And then as you lift flat back, bend your knees again, come back to chair pose, but with your palms together, bring your right elbow to the outside of your left knee and let's find a twist in that chair pose. Back to your chair with your knees still bent, and then over to the other side, exhale. And then all the way back to that chair pose. Straighten the legs, inhale, and then back bend. And let's go a little bit quicker. So let's find our right wrist and side stretch over. And then center. Let's find our left wrist and side stretch over. And then let's come into chair pose. Forward fold, Uttanasana, exhale. Halfway with your spine, inhale. And fold back to your legs, exhale. Sweep the arms all the way up, palms pressing together, how high? And then hands behind the back. Chest still lifting to where your hands were. And then exhale, fold forwards as you wake up those shoulders, wrists and hands. Coming halfway up, this time place your hands on the mat. Step your right leg back and come into a low lunge. If you're going to modify this, you could stay here. Or we're going to reach up and come into crescent moon. And if your back's not ready for deep back bends, just a warrior spine. And if your back is enjoying those back bends, just add that lovely crescent moon spine. We're going to drop the right hand back to find the back of the thigh or calf. And maybe, enhance that back bend just a little bit. And then if you can, bring your palms together out of your view. Sweep your mat, inhale. And then just on your breath, come back to one crescent moon. Exhale. Hands resting by the side of your foot. Step back, downward facing dog. From your down facing dog, come forward to plank. Lower your knees, sit back to your child's pose and take your gaze forward. Sliding forward onto your belly, coming into your low cobra or starting to build the back bends and coming a little higher. And tuck the toes under and find downward facing dog. So just a little pause here, so legs are hip distance. Your weight evenly spread, push into your fingertips, not load in the backs of your wrists. Gazes forward, bellies in. We're just going to walk or step to the top of the mat. Hands on your shin bones, inhale. And then fold over your legs, exhale. Take a breath in, sweep the arms up. Bring the palms together. And let's come back to that chair twist. Bringing your right elbow to the outside of your left knee. And back to your chair pose. And your left elbow to the outside of your right knee. And back to your chair. Uttanasana as you fold over your legs. Lift the chest to gaze and step your left leg back this time into your low lunge, modifying here. Or lifting into your crescent moon. However your back feels here. Opening through your chest. Lengthening through your spine. Dropping back with your left arm. And just seeing if you can add that little back bend. Now the arms are a little bit lighter there. Hands reaching together behind your view. Brushing that mat. Inhale. And on a breath, one movement. Bringing your hands beside your toes. Stepping back, downward facing dog. Downward facing dog through to our plank. Last time using these to child's. But you can use this as a modification if you wish. And then onto your belly as you find your cobra. Tucking the toes and back to our downward facing dog. Exhale. So just catching our breath back to natural. Just relaxing through the neck. And we should feel a little warmer now. Gazes forward. Let's step or walk top of mat. Hands to your shin bones or fingertips to the mat if your flexibility is opening up. And then fold into your legs, exhale. Taking a breath in, sweeping the arms. And let's find Tadasana. Exhale. So we're going to start this Vinyasa flow. The flow you know. Let's circle the arms. Exhale, fold forward, Uttanasana. Lift the chest to gaze and step back to plank pose. From plank, lower your knees, your chest, and inhale through to cobra. If you're warm and you're stronger, you could find up facing dog and downward facing dog. Exhale. I'm going to take our right leg off the mat for the first time. Bend the knee, and you can play with that. You can be very creative, and you can just sort of let that sort of hip open, or you can be a little cautious and just take a nice easy knee bend. And bring your foot in between your hands and your back foot to the floor. Warrior one. Inhale. So just looking at our alignment here, your knee sort of points towards your second toe, and your back heel just wants to pivot out towards the back of your mat. And go as low into your legs as you feel confident, but don't feel like you're sinking into your legs. Feel like you've got this power as well as this depth in your warrior one. I'm going to open our warrior one up to a warrior two. I'm just going to switch sides on my mat so I can face my screen. And just looking at your knee again, your knee's in line above your heel, your back leg is straight, and your hips are striving to open to the long line of that mat. Shoulders nice and relaxed, nice proud warrior spine, and gazes along your right hand. Always a transition, it's just a reverse warrior. We tip back towards our back leg with our right arm, and then back to your warrior two. We're going to add a triangle pose. So we're going to straighten the right leg, slide towards your toes, and then whether your hand rests on your mat, your ankle, your calf, or even the inside of your knee, find that beautiful triangle, straight leg, straight arm pose, quite angular, quite a sharp pose. So I always ask my class to soften out the edges, soften out the angles. So I'll give you options through the Vinyasa, and we're going to wrap our left arm behind our back, and as you bind it, feel like you're rolling the headlight on your left shoulder to the ceiling and shining the light there on the ceiling, and turning your chest in to face that long line of your mat. We're going to take this left arm that's bound, and if you want to extend it over the top of your head there to reach the top end of your mat, and then inhale, lift, and come back to your warrior two. Arm resting on your thigh, your hand resting on your mat, side angle pose. And from your back foot on the ground to your fingertips reaching high, thinking of this high line through your left side and this control through the underneath of your waist. And you can go deep into your legs if you want to. If you want to take a bind of that, show you how to bind. Wrap your left arm behind your back, catch your right hand under your thigh, and you can bind it. If that doesn't work for you, you have the option to be on your thigh or you have your hand on the mat. If you've taken the bind with me, come back into extended side angle pose. And let's come back into our warrior two. Now straighten both legs, turn the feet into face the long line of your mat. Hands resting on your hips or waist, wide forward fold. Let's say hands to mat, head to mat. This wide fold is really personal, so just do what you can with it to get your head close to the mat. Use blocks if you need to, if they're in your practice. And then inhale, come halfway. Right hand stays on the mat, just underneath the tip of your nose there. Left arm lifts, we twist, and we want to keep both feet anchored. And that twist is nice and pure through our waist. So we're not just turning our neck to look at our hand, we're trying to twist our chest, our heart to look at that hand. Change hands, left hand down, right hand reaches, and we twist, and just maybe comparing how one side usually feels so much more tight to create that twist. And then with your breath, right hand down, left hand lifts, and left hand down, right hand lifts. Bringing both hands back to the mat, staying in that tabletop position, letting your hands come back to your hips or waist, and coming back to that wide stride. Turn your right foot out one more time, come back to your warrior two, and let's bring your back arm over, and step back to plank. Now I'm going to offer you a side plank in the Vinyasa, you don't have to take it. So if you're happy to stay in plank or take a child's pose, or we're just going to flip onto the right side and add a side plank here. And if you're creative and you're stronger, you could always add to that if you wanted to. Let's come back to our plank, through knees or chaturanga, into a cobra or up facing dog. And downward facing dog. Exhale. So that's our sequence. Told you it'd be familiar. You're going to come right back to the top of the mat. Do the same on the other side. So from your down facing dog, rise to your toes, bend your knees, stretch your chest back to your thighs, and step or jump to the top of your mat. Back is long, and fold to your legs. Take a breath in, raise the arms while I scoot up the other end of my mat. And let's come into that chair twist pose. Left elbow to right thigh this time. And back to chair. Right to left. And back to chair. Forward fold. Exhale. Lift the chest gaze, hands nice and firm on the mat. Walk or jump to plank. Your Vinyasa through knees or chaturanga, up dog or cobra. And downward facing dog. So we're lifting our left leg off the mat. And as you bend your knee, that's how you feel, whether you're going to drop that over a little bit, or whether you're just going to take a little cautious knee bend. Gazes at your hands, bring your foot in between your hands, your back foot to the floor, and we come into our warrior one. So a little form check while we're holding. So you've got the top end of your mat there to point your knee to. You've got the back end of your mat to pivot your heel to. You've got your sort of how you feel in your hips and legs as to how deep you go, and you've got this lovely connection through your core and through your spine as how high you go. Let's open that to warrior two. So inner knee, inner thigh, inner hip, all there in your attention as you open that left knee out, and then still with this power in your right leg and this pride in your warrior spine. Let's take a reverse warrior there. Exhale. And come back to your warrior two. Straighten your left leg. You have sort of an edge where you can slide to. And then come into your triangle. Trikonasana. Soften your right shoulder. Soften that tight, angular feeling that sometimes creeps into this pose. Wrapping your right arm behind your back. And if you had a little headlight on your right shoulder, I'm going to shine it at the ceiling there. So lots of control through this underneath waist as you release your right arm and reach it over towards your left toes, the top end of your mat there. Perfect. Let's come back into our warrior two. Exhale. So side angle pose, you can modify it with your arm lightly resting on your thigh. You can bring your hand to your calf, your ankle, or your mat. Or you combine with me, right arm wraps, left hand underneath your thigh, and it should be an easy catch of those hands. We don't want to be waving around trying to find them somewhere there, but I can't quite get hold of them. So let's get into a nice firm controlled bind here in this angle pose. And then if your legs are too deep, they will start to tell you, and you will be thinking, oh my goodness, please hurry up and get me out of this pose. Let's come back to that angle pose. Exhale, and let's come back into our warrior two as well. Straighten the legs, feet turn in. Now this side, we're going to take hold of the hands, and we're going to find that lovely open heart feeling, our chest expansion arms. So roll the tricep muscles around the back of your arms. As you fold forwards, feel this movement from your shoulders, not from your hands. Encourage, mobilize, be patient with your shoulders, and you might find eventually your hands touch the floor. Be forceful and aggressive with this pose, and it will never happen. So just sort of see how it all feels. Enjoy. As you come flat back, let your hands rest on the back of your tailbone, and then hands to hips and all the way back up. Left foot turns out, warrior two. Let's bring our right arm over and step back to our plank. You have the option to pause there, to take a child's, or to come with me and find your side plank. And you can lift your right arm high, you can extend your right arm long, you could even have a little go at lifting that right foot off the floor. All options for you to try if you want to. Or just have your left knee on the floor if you need to. Come around to your plank, find your vinyasa, and back to downward facing dog. Exhale. So that's our flow, you know. I hope you know it. We're going to run that through with a breath, and then when we finish that one time, I'll give you the option to stop there or to come with me one more time, because that third time is always the best. Let's see where we go with it. Rise to your toes, bend your knees, stretch back to your thighs, and step or jump, top of mat. Halfway with your spine, fold over your legs. Just for a moment, just take your feet a little bit wider, bend your knees, grab your elbows in front of or behind the backs of your calves, and just have a little sort of raggy doll hold there. As we come back, cool down, calm down, and let's add our breath to this flow. So hands resting on your shin bones, inhale, flat back. Reach the arms up. Hands coming to your sides or to your heart, to Tadasana. And let's find our flow that we know. Inhale, circle the arms. Chair pose, exhale. Right elbow to outside of left knee. Back to chair. Left to right. And back to chair. Forward fold, exhale. Lift the chest to gaze, step or jump to plank, and vinyasa with me to downward facing dog. Here, take our right leg off the mat and bend the knee. Bringing your foot in between your hands, your back foot to the floor. And let's come into warrior one as we breathe in. Open that to warrior two. Reverse your warrior, exhale. And back to warrior. Inhale, straighten your right leg, slide to your toes, and find your triangle pose. Exhale. Inhale as you lift back, bend the knee back to warrior. Come into side angle pose, whatever variation that we explored in the hold there. And back to your warrior two. Exhale. Straighten your leg, feet turn in, hands to your hips. As you fold wide, hands to mat, Head to mat if your head will touch the mat. And inhale, come flat back halfway. Right hand stays on the floor and our left arm lifts. Change sides. Inhale, exhale. And one more each side. Breath in and breath out. Last one. Breath in and breath out. Both hands back to the mat. Back to your hips. And inhale, lift. Right foot turns out, back to your warrior. And your right arm comes across. We're finding our plank. If you're coming with me, onto your right side with your plank. And back to plank. Vinyasa, your vinyasa. Back to downward facing dog. Exhale. Let's take our left foot off the mat, just changing ends with my mat. Bend the knee and bring your left foot in between your hands, back foot to the ground. Push your feet firm into the ground as you lift into your warrior one. Open exhale to your warrior two. Reverse your warrior, inhale. And warrior two. Exhale, straighten your leg. Slide to your toes and exhale, find your triangle, Trikonasana. Inhale, lift. Exhale, warrior. Your side angle pose. Maybe you can go a little deeper now. And back to your warrior two. Exhale, straighten your right leg. Feet turn in. Hands behind your back. Lift your chest and fold over your legs. Chest expansion, arms as you fold. Taking a breath in, coming halfway. Hands back to your hips or waist and slowly coming back up. Turn your left foot out again. Come back to your warrior two. Left arm, right arm reaches over. Coming into your plank. Coming onto your left side plank or just taking a pause there. And back to plank vinyasa. Through up dog or cobra. And downward facing dog. Exhale. Amazing. Give yourself 3 or 4 or 5 breaths there in your down dog. Just change ends with my mat again. It's like a roundabout, this mat. And then as you rise to your toes, bend your knees. You could either just take a child's pose from there, or just come with me through one more set. Gazes at your hands. See if you can land in that chair leg position, bent knee position. Sweep the arms up, palms together. Right elbow to left knee. And chair pose. Left to right. And chair. Uttanasana, forward fold. Exhale. Lift the chest, back is flat, gazes forward. And step or jump to your vinyasa. Through back to downward facing dog. As our right leg leaves the mat. Take that knee bend. Bring your foot in between your hands, your back foot to the floor. And we're coming up into our best warrior one so far today. Open that to your warrior two. Reverse your warrior, exhale. And back to warrior two. Straighten your right leg, slide to your toes. And find your Trikonasana triangle pose. Inhale, lift. Exhale, warrior. Side angle pose. Maybe this is the one you can take to the mat or bind. And back to warrior two. Leg is straightening, feet turning, hands to your hips, wide folds. Hands to your mat as you maybe get the head to touch the mat this time. Inhale halfway, right hand on the mat, left arm lifts as we twist. And let's change, inhale and exhale. One more each side, right hand down, left arm lifts. Left hand lowers, right hand lifts. Both hands flat back, inhale, and hands back to your hips or waist as we come all the way back up. Right foot turns out again, back into warrior two. Reach your left arm over and step back to your plank. Let's take a side plank on the right side. And back to your plank, your vinyasa. And I will join you in downward facing dog. Exhale. Let's take our left leg off the mat into 3-limb down facing dog. Bend the knee. Bring your foot in between your hands, your back foot to the floor. Push your feet into the ground, come up into that lovely warrior one. Open to warrior two. Reverse your warrior, exhale. And warrior two, inhale. Straighten your left leg, slide to your toes, and exhale, Trikonasana. Inhale as you lift. Exhale, warrior two. Side angle pose. Maybe this is the best side angle pose so far this year. And back to warrior two. Straighten the leg, feet turn in, hands behind the back. Inhale, open the chest. And exhale, fold. Patient, respectful to those shoulders as you circle your arms towards the mat. Take a breath in, come halfway. Hands to your hips as you come all the way back up to standing. Left foot turns out, warrior two. Exhale. Bring your right arm across, step back to your plank. And let's find our last side plank on our left side. Exhale. And back to plank. And find your vinyasa through knees or chaturanga, up dog or cobra to downward facing dog. Exhale. So just stretching back in your down facing dog. And then we're just going to walk our feet in just enough that we can touch the mat just quite lightly with our heels. So we're just taking a little bit of the intensity away from trying to push our heels into the mat. You're going to take your right hand over to the outside of your left ankle and just have a little stretch through it. It's like a thread the needle, like you're trying to thread yourself through the space between your straight arm and leg there. And then back to your down facing dog. Let's go the other way. See if you can thread your head, neck and shoulders through that space there. Perfect. And back to your down facing dog. And then as you look at your hands, you're going to bend your knees, stretch back to your thighs, and either walk or jump to a seated. And let's come around to a seated position. So that was a flow, you know, I'm sure you knew that in some format or another. We're going to bring our legs out just for the last little part of the class into Dandasana. And as it's a flow, you know, let's finish with a couple of seated poses that you know. You're going to leave one leg straight and bring the other foot to the inside of your thigh, or maybe half lotus, or maybe just your calf if you're modifying. Sit a little forward of your sit bones and just take a nice deep stretch over this leg. And we're looking at a nice long back. We're not looking at a hunched, tight, rounded back. We're looking at a deep stretch for that straight leg that you chose to use, rather than a forced tight feeling because you're maybe trying to stretch a little too far, too quickly. Just gently tapping the back of the calf and the knee and the thigh downwards towards the mat. And breathe in rather than forcing your body into this union of deep hamstring stretch and passive back stretch. Neck is relaxed, shoulders are relaxed, breath is calm. As you inhale, just lift away from your thigh. And as you exhale, one movement, one breath, just find one more stretch over that straight leg. As you lift, coming all the way up, bringing your hands back beside your hips and slowly away. We're just going to bring this foot to the floor. It can stay on the inside, you can cross it to the other side of your leg, and your opposite arm will wrap or bind. And then we're just adding a twist to that, and you're just gently drawing your knee across towards the opposite side of your shoulder as you squeeze into that twist. And just try and keep length and that feeling of passive. It's a really good word in your body as you breathe into this twist. And then as you exhale from there, just bring that leg out. Bring your other foot in to your inner thigh, your calf, or your half lotus. Sit a little forward of your sit bones. And let's see why you chose that first leg first. Oh, I know why I chose that first leg first. This side is a lot tighter. So don't just be expectant that you'll be able to go as deep this side as you did the first time. Probably will eventually, and with a bit of patience, but just move into it as it tells you to. Same again, just switch your muscles off that you can switch off and be really alert to those muscles and those areas of your body that are working still very hard in a much more isolated way. Take a breath in, just coming halfway, and then exhale, folding back over that leg, one breath and one movement. Inhale as you lift the chest, bring your hands back to your hips and slowly back off that leg. So this foot is coming to the ground, it can stay inside or cross outside. Opposite arm wraps, other hand on the mat. Textbook will tell you to sit that sit bone down. Absolutely, if it will, if it won't, it's fine, it doesn't matter. Just be a little cautious, don't force the stretch, and just try and find a really nice deep twist, rather than a forced tight feeling in your belly. And gently away from that. Take both feet out in front of you. We're just going to bring our feet in, drawing the soles of our feet together. They can sit really close to your hips. You can wiggle your hips closer, you can wiggle your hips further back. Got our elbows here quite neatly positioned, so as we fold over the tops of our toes here, use your elbows just as a way to encourage your hips out. Just a little gentle power, pressure on your inner thighs as you fold here, and you could either just keep your back long and flat, or you could just let your head relax, bow your neck, and just be a little bit more like a cat spine if you prefer to be. And then slowly away from there, we're just going to take this shape and we're going to slide it longer, so like a diamond shape with our legs. And then as you fold into that space, just be a little bit more like, almost like a seated child's pose. Let your head bow, let your body full and rich and calm. And as we curl our way in from there, just bring your legs in to wherever they're comfortable. You can always roll back and down with your shoulders. Take a breath in, we breathe in positive. Catch that positive in your palms and exhale it all the way down through to your heart center. And namaste, have the most amazing day, or I will see you soon, and take care. Bye for now.